So we discussed this yesterday. Notre Dame has an offensive coordinator. We were like, okay, and there seems to be a lot of frustration with what's happened and how long it's taken, but they have promoted from within on their staff.
Yeah, they have. And, I saw Andy Staples, that kind of wrote a column saying, maybe they could have, or a mailbag saying they could have just saved us all the trouble and not been so public with their pursuit of Andy Ludwig. I guess that's kind of how it goes sometimes. But if they were just going to hire from within, also brought in Gino Jaguli from Cincinnati as their quarterback coach, and he was somebody who I thought might be on the radar for Cincinnati's job because he's a Cincinnati legend. He's been there forever, but someone who's worked with some good quarterbacks in the past and was a quarterback at Cincinnati. So he's there as well. It'll be interesting to see how their offense changes next year. And look, they've got to hit it right out of the park. They've got Sam Hartman coming in, and they've got potential to explode on that side of the ball. So better get this hire right because you've got 1 year with Sam Hartman before he's gone.
Before, Craig, you say anything else, I want to show this graphic that can lead to whatever you want to also talk about. This is Pete Sampson, who covers Notre Dame for TheAthletic.com. Here are the coordinators, the offensive coordinators Notre Dame has hired in the past 8 jobs that have been open. 5 of them, again, the Power 5 experience or not. Gerard Parker's the new one. He was promoted after Ludwig said no from Utah. 2 years. Tommy Rees, who's headed to Alabama, 1 year. But look before that. One game, yeah. Before that, Long, Sanford, Denbrock, Martin, Molnar, and Howard.
Haywood,
none of them had any kind of Power 5 experience while searching or adding to their list of offensive coordinators, and Parker's promoted from within on the staff. Christian McCollum will join us a little bit later on his take on this as well.
I guess they're getting more experience than they've had the last 2 hires. 1 game, 2 years, still more than none with like 5 straight OCs. So, it's not an inspiring hire. It's not a hire that they're running around and celebrating. It's kind of embarrassing to some extent that you had a guy sitting there at your basketball game and big bad Notre Dame with, dragging piles of money decided that they didn't want to open up and grab any more money out of the vault. And that's something that they've been very well known to do time and again, which is, I think, part of some of the frustration at times for certain fans or just people are observing on the outside of like, why are you penny pinching for if you want to get the guy from Utah, Andy Ludwig, and you think he's going to be the guy who can help you bridge this gap between strong independent and national championship contender, then why don't you go for it? And I don't know that there's been any explanation. Like, I'm obviously not receiving the Notre Dame emails from the AD and, those types of things that they send out. So maybe it's been addressed on, Irish Illustrated or whatever. But as outside observers, it's strange that they wouldn't just go all in if that's what needed to be done. But I also can appreciate the fact that they don't want to set precedents or live up to the ridiculousness of certain coaches' contracts. I just saw a graphic a little while ago of like the top 10 highest paid coaches in college football, and most of them are now making $9 million, or it's like the top 15, and most are making $8 million or more. And I think every single one of them, other than one, was from the SEC or the Big Ten. The only one that wasn't was Lincoln Riley. So he's about to be in the Big Ten, but every single of the highest paid coaches, like top 1 through 10 or 15, is all from those 2 conferences, which is not the TV deal yet because those haven't kicked in yet. So that's, part of it for the SEC. The Big Ten's big deal's obviously coming up, but the SEC's about to start up with CBS, and it's just going to be more and more cash flowing. So I can kind of appreciate Notre Dame saying, no, there's a line we may draw here for an offensive coordinator. We're not going to pay him $2.5 million or $3 million or whatever. We'll let Auburn or Bama or those schools do that. And maybe that's not the case. Maybe they just felt like he's not worth the money. Whatever the case may be, it's an interesting decision to just stay in-house after all of that, and it can't be seen as anything but a disappointment. When you have a open public search of multiple candidates, and at the end of the day you turn around, say, we're not going to pay that money for this guy, but we'll hire the guy who's been sitting here this entire time. That just seems very uninspired.
And the public kind of, hey, look who's here. Look who we have on campus. Basketball, maybe even a hockey a match was a game, that
That's
was
where they were
on as
hosting
well.
him.
Yeah. So, all right, so there's Notre Dame, and we'll hear from A writer who covers Notre Dame, Paul, you knew him, had him on before, back, I think, during the bowl season, will come on in a little bit, about an hour, to discuss their search and what it all means and what's everyone saying in South Bend.